In today's video, I'm going to take this EV on an extreme test for its new lithium battery.
Welcome back to Boneset Ranch.
I am going to be going up and down the hillside, which is a very steep road on dirt that will test the endurance of the battery against the most extreme of driving conditions. I hope to get twice the distance I was getting on the lead acid batteries.
I started the day off fresh with 100% battery and 80 volts. Then I started my trails, named it, saved it, so I could have the data for the distance that I drive. Let's head out. 3 years ago, when the lead acid batteries were fresh, I did the same test on a slightly less intense hillside.
We made it 5.12 something or other miles, which was about what I had predicted.
The Boneset Ranch is a really challenging property to drive a four-wheel drive on. You can see here just the kinds of rocks and obstacles, and this is the flat land. Once you get into the hilly terrain, it's very challenging to go up and down. But this thing handles it great, and it handles it even better with the lithium battery as opposed to the lead acid batteries.
Let's go see.
My original test of the lead acid batteries was on the neighborhood easement road, which was not as challenging as the road that I've built on my own property now. The first part of the property is very steep, as you can see. And that presents its biggest challenge for going up and down. Going down, the UTV does use regenerative braking. Interestingly, though, with the regenerative braking is that when you first start out with 100% battery, it doesn't actually do braking because it's not regenerating with the motors. After you have used a load, it does give you some braking though, which is very useful going up and down. But that also means that on a warm day like the day I was testing the battery life, that's helping to heat the motors both on the way up and on the way down, which is something that came into play with the overall distance I was able to go on this constant trial up and down the hill. This last little bit of downhill was new for this year. I just cut this in, and now I can make it up and down the property all within the property lines, even though for this test there is a portion where I do sneak outside of the property lines onto the easement road for a little bit, and then it's right back onto the Boneset Highway. There are loose parts of the cart that rattle a little and just typical noises you would have, but this is a good example of about the noise level that you will hear as the cart approaches and leaves an area. It was 85 degrees in the morning when I started, and that's pretty warm. It's a California dry heat, but still starting to feel it. However, that temperature was rising steadily as I kept going up and down the hill.
Okay, I sped it up a little here to move the video along, but I wanted to keep the footage of the driving to give you a real sense of the overall scale of the course that I drove. And this is coming to the end of the first circuit. Overall, it's about 3/4 of a mile from top to bottom and back. I averaged using about 6% of the battery on a typical circuit up and down the hill. This was the battery level after about 3 trips, which included some stops for some camera positioning. And trip 4. Here you can see the amperage I'm pulling as I go up some of the steeper grades. I believe the highest amperage I've experienced is about 350. The route was a little over 3/8 of a mile each way, 0.8 miles both ways, and 10 miles total.
That's 5 trips. Six trips. That is 8 trips. 9 times. Ten times. Oh, dusty ride.
It was getting to be over 100 by now, but I still had 1/4 of a battery, and then this started to happen. I tried adding some electrons to my foot pedal, and still, I was just not going to get up the hill. The front tires were getting plenty of power, but it just seemed like something wasn't going on with the rear wheels. So I tried again. And I got more of the same result. I had to give up on going up the steeper inner road and go to the neighborhood easement road, which did have its own struggles to get up. But it's kind of telling that I was able to get up this road, and yet this is the road I used as my first extreme driving test, which shows that it wasn't as extreme as this most recent test. And eventually I did make it back up to the neighborhood. Now I had to go back and kind of look and evaluate and see what was going on. I let things cool down for a while, then I tried it again on the steepest of hills, and at that attempt it did make it back up without having recharged the battery. So that confirmed that it was the motors or the motor controller that was overheating at the time, that it wouldn't make it back up the hill. With that mystery solved, I wanted to see how much the EcoFlow batteries would recharge the EV battery. In the end, it added about 20% to the EV battery charge. That would give me that much additional range if I needed to use them as a reserve.
I still doubled the distance I was able to travel on lead acid batteries, and now I know the limits of what I can really push this to. It'll be interesting to take it out on some trails and see how it goes with a little easier driving and try the distances that way. Thanks for watching.